Let's look at a few examples, the 1-minute manager said. Maybe then it will be clear to you why 1-minute praisings work so well. I'd like that, said the young man. I'll start with a pigeon example and then move on to people, said the manager. Just remember, young man, people are not pigeons. People are more complicated. They are aware, they think for themselves, and they certainly don't want to be manipulated by another person. Remember that and respect that. It's a key to good management. With that in mind, let's look at several simple examples which show us that we all seek what feels good to us and we avoid what feels bad to us. Suppose you have an untrained pigeon that you want to enter a box in the lower left-hand corner and run across the box to the upper right-hand corner and push a lever with his right foot. Suppose that not too far from the entry point we have a pellet machine. That is, a machine that can release pellets of food to reward and reinforce the pigeon. What do you think is going to happen if we put the pigeon in the box and wait until the pigeon runs over to the upper right-hand corner and pushes the lever with his right foot before we give him any food? Asked the 1-minute manager. He would starve to death, responded the young man. You're right. We're going to lose a lot of pigeons. The pigeon is going to starve to death because he doesn't have any idea what he is supposed to do. Now, it's actually not too hard to train a pigeon to do this task. All you have to do is to draw a line not too far from where the pigeon enters the box. If the pigeon enters the box and crosses the line, bang, the pellet machine goes off and the pigeon gets fed. Pretty soon you have the pigeon running to that spot. But you don't want the pigeon there. Where do you want the pigeon? In the upper right-hand corner of the box, said the young man. Right, the 1-minute manager confirmed. Therefore, after a while, you stop rewarding the pigeon for running to that spot and draw another line, which isn't too far from the last line, but is in the direction of the goal, the upper right-hand corner of the box. Now the pigeon starts running around his old spot and doesn't get fed. Pretty soon, though, the pigeon makes it across the new line, and bang, the machine goes off again and the pigeon gets fed. Then you draw another line. Again, this line has to be in the direction of the goal, but not too far away that the pigeon can't make it again. We keep setting these lines closer and closer to the upper right-hand corner of the box until we won't feed the pigeon unless he hits the lever, and then finally only when he hits the lever with his right foot. Why do you set up all these little goals? Wondered the young man. By setting up these series of lines, we're establishing goals that the pigeon can achieve. So the key to training someone to do a new task is, in the beginning, to catch them doing something approximately right until they can eventually learn to do it exactly right. We use this concept all the time with kids and animals, but we somehow forget it when we're dealing with big people, adults. For example, at some of these sea aquariums you see around the country, they usually end the show by having a huge whale jump over a rope which is high above the water. When the whale comes down, he drenches the first 10 rows. The people leave that show mumbling to themselves, "That's unbelievable. How did they teach that whale to do that?" "Do you think they go out in the ocean in a boat?" the manager asked, "and put a rope out over the water and yell, 'Up, up,' until a whale jumps out of the water over the rope, and then say, 'Hey, let's hire him. He's a real winner.'" "No," laughed the young man. "But that really would be hiring a winner." The two men enjoyed the laugh they shared. "You're right," the manager said. "When they captured the whale, he knew nothing about jumping over ropes. So when they began to train him in the large pool, where do you think they started the rope?" "At the bottom of the pool," answered the young man. "Of course," responded the manager. "Every time the whale swam over the rope, which was every time he swam past, he got fed. Soon they raised the rope a little. If the whale swam under the rope, he didn't get fed during training. Whenever he swam over the rope, he got fed. So after a while, the whale started swimming over the rope all of the time. Then they started raising the rope a little higher." "Why do they raise the rope?" asked the young man. "First," the manager began, "because they were clear on the goal, to have the whale jump high out of the water and over the rope. And second," the 1-minute manager pointed out, "it's not a very exciting show for a trainer to say, 'Folks, the whale did it again.' Everybody may be looking in the water, but they can't see anything. Over a period of time, they keep on raising the rope until they finally get it to the surface of the water. Now the great whale knows that in order to get fed, he has to jump partially out of the water and over the rope. As soon as that goal is reached, they can start raising the rope higher and higher out of the water. "So that's how they do it," the young man said. "Well, I can understand now how using that method works with animals, but isn't it a bit much to use it with people?" "No, it's very natural, in fact," the manager said. "We all do essentially the same thing with the children we care for. How do you think you teach them to walk? Can you imagine standing a child up and saying, 'Walk,' and when he falls down, you pick him up and spank him and say, 'I told you to walk'? No, you stand the child up, and the first day he wobbles a little bit, and you get all excited and say, 'He stood, and you hug and kiss the child. The next day he stands for a moment and maybe wobbles a step, and you're all over him with kisses and hugs. Finally, the child, realizing that this is a pretty good deal, starts to wobble his legs more and more until he eventually walks. The same thing goes for teaching a child to speak. Suppose you wanted a child to say, 'Give me a glass of water, please.' If you waited until the child said the whole sentence before you gave her any water, the child would die of thirst. So you start off by saying, 'Water, water.' All of a sudden, one day the child says, 'Water.' You jump all over the place. Hug and kiss the child. Get grandmother on the phone so the child can say, 'Water, water.' That wasn't water, but it was close. Now, you don't want a kid going into a restaurant at the age of 21 asking for a glass of water, so after a while you only accept the word water, and then you begin on please. These examples illustrate that the most important thing in training somebody to become a winner is to catch them doing something right. In the beginning, approximately right, and gradually moving them toward the desired behavior. With a winner, you don't have to catch them doing things right very often because good performers catch themselves doing things right and are able to be self-reinforcing. "Is that why you observe new people a lot in the beginning?" asked the young man. "Or when your more experienced people are starting a new project?" "Yes," the one-minute manager said. "Most managers wait until their people do something exactly right before they praise them. As a result, many people never get to become high performers because their managers concentrate on catching them doing things wrong. That is, anything that falls short of the final desired performance. In our pigeon example, it would be like putting the pigeon in the box and not only waiting until he hits the lever to give him any food, but putting some electric grills around the box to punish him periodically just to keep him motivated. That doesn't sound like it would be very effective," the young man suggested. "Well, it isn't," agreed the one-minute manager. "After getting punished for a while and not knowing what acceptable behavior is, that is, hitting the lever, the pigeon would go into the corner of the box and not move. To the pigeon, it's a hostile environment and not worth taking any risks in. That is what we often do with new, inexperienced people. We welcome them aboard, take them around to meet everybody, and then we leave them alone. Not only do we not catch them doing anything approximately right, but periodically we zap them just to keep them moving. This is the most popular leadership style of all. We call it the leave-alone zap style. You leave a person alone, expecting good performance from them, and when you don't get it, you zap them." "What happens to these people?" asked the young man. "If you've been in any organization, and I understand you've visited several," the manager said, "you know, because you've seen them. They do as little as possible. And that's what's wrong with most businesses today. Their people really don't produce, either quantity or quality. And much of the reason for this poor business performance is simply because the people are managed so poorly." The young man put his notebook down. He thought about what he just heard. He was beginning to see one-minute management for what it is, a practical business tool. It was amazing to him how well something as simple as the one-minute praising worked, whether it was inside or outside the business world. "That reminds me of some friends of mine," the young man said. "They called me and said that they'd gotten a new dog. They asked me what I thought of their planned method of training the dog. The manager was almost afraid to ask. How were they going to do it? They said if the dog had an accident on the rug, they were going to take the dog, shove his nose in it, pound him on the butt with a newspaper, and then throw the dog out this little window in the kitchen into the backyard, where the dog was supposed to do his job. Then they asked me what I thought would happen with this method. I laughed because I knew what would happen. After about 3 days, the dog would poop on the floor and jump out the window. The dog didn't know what to do, but he knew he had better clear the area. The manager roared his approval. "That's a great story," he said. You see, that's what punishment does when you use it with somebody who lacks confidence or is insecure because of lack of experience. If inexperienced people don't perform, that is, do what you want them to do, then rather than punish them, we need to go back to 1-minute goal setting and make sure they understand what is expected of them and that they have seen what good performance looks like. Well then, after you've done 1-minute goal setting again, the young man asked, do you try to catch them doing something approximately right again? Precisely so, the 1-minute manager agreed. You're always trying to create situations in the beginning where you can give a 1-minute praising. Then, looking the young man straight in the eyes, the manager said, "You are a very enthusiastic and receptive learner. That makes me feel good about sharing the secrets of 1-minute management with you." They both smiled. They knew a 1-minute praising when they heard one. "I sure enjoy a praising more than a reprimand," the young man laughed. "I think I understand now why 1-minute goals and 1-minute praisings work. They really do make good sense to me." "Good," said the 1-minute manager. "But I can't imagine why the 1-minute reprimand works." The young man wondered out loud. "Let me tell you a few things about it," said the 1-minute manager.